This phrase refers to a web page that can't be found?
Welcome to the Web Marketing Show, a podcast hosted by Randy Thornton. Learn how she approaches today's internet marketing challenges with straightforward, strategic web marketing guidance for businesses and industries of all sizes. Sit back, relax, and listen as Randy shares systems, tools, advice, trends, technologies, and how-tos about everything related to productive web marketing. Because time does matter, let's get started. Here's Randy.
Welcome to this episode of the Web Marketing Show podcast. Today's title is WordPress, a content management system review. Today, we are going to learn all about content management systems, and more specifically, WordPress. This topic may not sound exciting, but trust me, you will want to know this information because it does have a direct impact on your web marketing. So, let's get started. Before we jump into our show this week, I've got just a few things I want to talk about. Starting with, in episode 2, I announced that I was going to provide the definition of a word before each podcast and reveal the word at the end of the podcast. I thought this would be a fun feature. Let me know if you're enjoying it. I'd love to hear your feedback about this or any other suggestions you have for me to help me improve this web marketing podcast. Next, I want to mention that during the last episode, which was episode 3, and in case you missed it, it is located at webmarketingshow.com/3. The word of that show was above the fold. Not the word, I should say, the phrase for that show was above the fold. The day after I recorded that episode, I learned Google introduced a new change to its algorithm that referred to the term above the fold. So I wanted to share with you what this change had to do today. Just in case you're not 100% clear what Google's algorithm is or what it means, when a search is conducted on Google, there are thousands, if not millions, of pages that could be displayed. Google's algorithm is their complicated formula that determines which page Google will ultimately display. And its algorithmic formula changes often. So, to keep current with web marketing, one must always and also keep current with Google's algorithm changes, because these will ultimately affect your search rankings and your overall web marketing outcomes. So, interestingly enough, Google announced that ad placement on web pages above the fold would now be a ranking consideration. While Google never shares everything with us, Google has made it clear that websites or web pages that use pay-per-click or display advertising on their pages need to think about where and how many ads appear above the fold. I believe the thought behind this recent change has to do with user experience. I think Google's saying that if there are too many ads that appear on a web page above the fold, it's just not a good user experience. So if any listeners out there are using Google AdWords or display ads on their website, please make sure that you limit the number that do appear above the fold. Or at minimum, keep an eye on your traffic and your web analytics to see if your website has been affected by this algorithm update. Then I've got kind of a bizarre story to share with you. This happened right after I recorded the last episode. I used the phrase home foundation as an example to stress the importance of your website's SEO foundation. I believe your online marketing foundation must be built on an SEO-friendly website from the ground up, or it'll crumble and or collapse. My objective using this phrase, home foundation, was just to paint a picture so I could really drive home my point. But when I was doing the podcast and I used this analogy, I wasn't even sure if that would be a believable phrase, that a foundation could actually be so bad today that it would be best just to tear it down and start from scratch. I think I even said something like, assume this scenario occurred prior to home inspections. I was thinking that if you were buying a new house and the foundation was so bad, certainly an inspector or a home inspector, when you bought the property, would see this. I don't know. That's just what I was thinking as I was going through all this. Well, anyways, here's where my story goes. About 15 years ago, I owned a condo as a second home on Fort Myers Beach in Florida. When I purchased it, it was almost brand new, and I absolutely loved this condo, and I loved the area, and I just spent a lot of time there. Well, about 6 years ago, I sold the condo after my grandson was born because any free time I had, I was just traveling to see him, and the condo never got used. But I've always had this little bit of sadness and often wish I did not sell it. You know, just one of those feelings. Well, anyways, one of my best friends who owns a condo directly across the street called and informed me that my condo building has major foundation problems. And guess what? It's sinking. Yes, sinking. I couldn't believe how ironic her telling me this was because I just used bad foundations as an analogy in my last episode. She said it had something to do with pilings. I don't know. Also, for the first time since I sold the condo unit, I was quite glad I was not an owner. I just found that story very interesting and ironic with the timing. As I stated earlier, I really do want your feedback to help me provide you with a good user experience during listening to this podcast. It is really my objective that every episode provides you with web marketing and on-site SEO tactics that you can take away, and you can check and verify that your website is using these best practices for validation. And if you find that your website's not using these best practices, that you make changes accordingly. Because once again, web marketing does begin with your website. I want to provide you with actionable takeaways. Every time you make a change or modification to improve your website's foundation, you will boost your web marketing outcomes. So please, if you have any feedback or there's a specific topic or question you'd like me to answer, please just go to webmarketingshow.com. Click on the feedback, and there's a feedback/question tab on the top of the navigation. And you can leave me any suggestions and or questions there, and I would really, really appreciate it. Okay, on to the show. Because every day that goes by without making changes to improve your website's SEO foundation is a day lost. Let's get started. Today, we're going to talk about WordPress and content management systems. We're going to look at WordPress, and I'm going to share some information in general about content or management systems, and then we're going to talk specifically about WordPress. First, let's define what a content management system is. And simply put, a content management system, also known as CMS, you'll see that CMS abbreviated that way frequently, is a system used to manage the content of a website. So what is a content management system? Well, it's basically your website. It's the coding. It's everything behind it. It's just the system that runs the website. But why does the content management system you choose actually matter? Well, if you run your own website or you have someone else handle it for you and manage it for you, your website, as I mentioned, does use a content management system. Just think of it this way. Your website is a content management system, if that makes sense. And I bet you know where I'm going to go with this anytime I get the opportunity to put that in. I like to say that your website is your online web marketing foundation. So therefore, the content management system you choose is really important. All content management systems have program languages or databases and operating systems and much more technical differences that I really don't claim to understand, and I don't actually believe you need to either. But because each one has different built-in features, functionality, security, ease of use, etc., that these distinctive differences and knowing options will just help guide you to learn which is best suited for your needs. And there is not just a one-size-fits-all solution here. It really depends on your goals, your technical expertise, your budget, and what you need your site to do. However, with that being said, we're going to talk more specifically now about WordPress. And I actually believe that there is, I almost put WordPress in that category, that it is a one-size-fits-all solution. I know there's always exceptions to the rule, but I can't even think of an exception, to be honest with you. I have been using WordPress for, I think about 7 years now, and it is the exclusive content management system for all of my websites. And there are just so many reasons I love this platform, and build all of my clients' websites using the WordPress platform, as well as all of my websites are built on WordPress. So what is WordPress? WordPress is a free and open source blogging tool and a content management system that runs on a web hosting service. Features include a plug-in architecture and a template system. WordPress is used by more than 18.9% of the top 10 million websites on the World Wide Web as of August 2013. So I found this data, that these numbers obviously are higher because we're past 2013 in August, but it's just such a big number that nearly 20% of all websites, the top 10 million websites, are using WordPress. It's just the most popular blogging system out there on the web, and it says, there are more than 60 million websites that use WordPress. Some of the most notable or recognizable brands that use WordPress as their website content management system today include, you're going to be surprised about this maybe, but eBay, Yahoo, Ford, the Wall Street Journal, Sony, People Magazine, Samsung, PlayStation, the New York Times, The Wired, oh my gosh, the list, CNN, the list goes on and on. WordPress is just used by so many brands and companies out there for the reasons that I love it. It's just so versatile, and there's virtually nothing that can be done. But let's talk about why I use WordPress. And as I go through this list, think about your website and think about, how your content management system differs than WordPress. And there's many, many features where I'm just going to touch on my top favorites. Okay, so my favorite feature, number one, is ease of use. Technical experience is not necessary because once it's set up and it's got this easy to use, what you see is what you get, WYSIWYG editor, it's easy for people with no technical experience to add web pages or blog posts. Now, WordPress did start mostly as a blogging platform, but blogging and adding posts is just one component of a website and the functionality behind WordPress. I mean, as you just learned from the list of big brands that are using WordPress as their content management system, they may have a blog on their site and they may blog, but they have static pages and they've got the About Us page and those types of pages we're familiar with. It's not just a blogging platform today. But ease of use is the number one feature that I love about it. Secondly, before I go second, let's just expand upon that. It's powerful enough when I talk about ease of use. It's power enough for web developers or designers to efficiently build sites for clients. And then if the client prefers to take over managing their website, this can be done with minimal instruction. So that gets back to the ease of use. there are extensive selection of themes, WordPress themes, and themes are the design, the look and feel of a website. And the nice thing about using themes is that the theme can get you going with the look and feel of your website. In other words, you don't have to code everything from scratch. If you want a blue background or what color font you want, your color schemes, etc. There's, I don't know, thousands and thousands of themes out there, and you can upload a theme to WordPress and your WordPress website and use that theme right out of the box, use it as is, or with some coding, you can go in and make some modifications, but you can use the basic functionality, the basic features that that theme is using. So for that case, for that scenario, it's just a big, big time saver. Next up is the fact that it is very, we talked about being user-friendly, but there's so much support and there's so many online tutorials that somebody that wanted to build a website from scratch and never has built a website before could actually deploy a WordPress website. It would take some time to learn all the intricacies, but the information is out there on the World Wide Web. So somebody virtually that's never built a website, they were determined to do that. WordPress is going to be the best way to go. You've got free information that is readily available on the internet, and you can learn everything you need to for free. Next up, plugins. My next feature that I love about WordPress is plugins. Plugins, just think about plugging something in and having it totally change the functionality or add a new functionality to the website. There's a huge community of developers that build and develop plugins, and plugins can do virtually everything today. Think about an online calendar. Well, there's a plugin for that. Think about a web form. Maybe you want to have a contact us web form. Well, there's a plugin for that. Think about mapping or even adding interactive mapping to your website. There's a plugin for that. There is virtually a plugin that has already built-in functionality that can probably do almost anything you would like done on your website. Those are my top reasons that I love using WordPress as my content management system. One other reason that is so important to me is the fact that when you think about web developers, the people that really get behind and maybe will code or build a website from scratch, they're not SEO people. And I've witnessed this many times where somebody will have a custom website built, and then when they ask me as their SEO consultant to, do my SEO magic on it, I just get frustrated because the website was not built on an SEO foundation, and this is going to be limiting for my client. So it's very frustrating for me. Anyways, the beauty of WordPress is that there are settings within WordPress that makes it a SEO friendly website. There are things such as categorizing and tagging and other settings that you can do that will make your website SEO friendly. So this is obviously one of the biggest features and the most top functionality features that is included with a WordPress website, or the WordPress website, how it kind of separates itself from other websites out there. In my opinion, WordPress is the best content management system available today. There's so many online tutorials, which makes this platform easier for anyone with no technical experience to learn. And a web developer can virtually create any look and feel. And it has an enormous community that contributes to it, keeping it updated using the latest technologies. And the functionality is almost limited with plugins. looking back here, I think I forgot to tell you one of the other major features that makes WordPress so attractive, and that is that it's an open platform or an open source platform. And what this means is that there's a whole community of web developers and designers that for free from around the world work behind the scenes to make this platform what it is today. And there are minimally twice a year, like every 6 months, WordPress updates, and sometimes even more frequently than that. Functionality and new technologies are always being updated, and ease of use is always added into the core. So that's another big plus. It's like you've got this huge community behind you that is, working for you virtually for free to make your WordPress website as functional and useful as possible. I mean, I think that's just so exciting. And I've listened to and heard a lot of these developers that donate their time behind the scenes, and they're just the best people, and they work so hard, and they just have your best interest in mind and want to make sure the experience for you as the user and for people that visit a WordPress website have what they need to grow their business. So it's kudos to them. I mean, it's just incredible to me, the strength behind the WordPress platform. So with that being said, how did WordPress compare to the content management system you use? What are your favorite features? Is there something you wish yours did that it didn't? And if you do use WordPress, what are your favorite features? Did I miss something? I'd love for you to share your thoughts and or comments regarding your content management system, and do that at webmarketingshow.com/4, being our 4th episode. Nope, excuse me, /5. This is our 5th episode. So please leave your comments at webmarketingshow.com/5. Okay, next week we are going to talk about website user experience. How to make a great first impression for your website visitors. There's a lot of different reasons why this is so important from a web marketing perspective. So I hope you are here next time, and I look forward to sharing that information with you. Did you guess what today's Web Marketing Show podcast number 5 word is? Well, it is, drum roll please, 404 errors. 404 errors is a phrase that refers to a web page that can't be found. This has happened to all of us, where you click on a link or you go visit a web page and you get it just says 404. The web page just can't be found. It's no longer available. And this can happen for a variety of reasons. And actually, I think there might be a little 404 little monster evil guy that goes out there and it makes this happen, because no matter what, your website should always be checked to make sure there are no broken links and your website visitors aren't landing on these 404 pages for a couple of reasons. One, it's frustrating. It's a bad experience. Secondly, 404 errors and broken links is an indication to Google that you're not maintaining your website. So from an SEO perspective and a web marketing perspective, you always want to make sure that you're on top of your 404 errors and that your visitors aren't landing on those 404 error pages. Google offers webmaster tools, which you can get for free. It's a free account. And if you've got this set up, you can go to your Google webmaster account and Google's going to actually tell you if Google's finding 404 errors as Google's crawling your website. That's how much Google cares about these errors. Google wants you to know about them so that you can make changes and make these types of corrections. In an upcoming podcast, I'm going to go through setting up Google Analytics, Google Webmaster Tools, and a couple of other very important tools and resources that you have that you absolutely need to have embedded in your website. So stay tuned for that as well. Be sure to check your 404 errors, make sure your website doesn't have any broken links, and share with me your favorite content management system and what you like and don't like about it. Goodbye for now.
This concludes this episode of the Web Marketing Show. If you need help or have questions or comments for Randy, please visit www.webmarketingshow.com. Be sure to listen to her next podcast show so you stay current with everything related to effective web marketing. And remember to take action today, because every day that slips by without taking action is one day further away from becoming a winning day.